Everybody, thanks for tuning in to an episode of The Spiritual Scientist. I'm Victor. Hey, thanks for checking me out. So, just wanted to do a video with you live on the autumn equinox or autumnal equinox, or however you want to say it now. Just wanted to see if anybody wants to tune in and we could talk about whatever you want to talk about, which would be pretty cool, I thought. And I'm doing this live without any announcements. So see who tunes in and wants to ask me a question, and we could talk about that, which I thought would be pretty neat. And it is autumn right now. As I recall, it's the day that you could stand a boiled egg up and it won't fall over. One of those days with gravity going around the sun. So it's supposedly today's one of the days that that's going to happen, which is pretty neat. So just want to see, stay on board here with you guys on Mothership Earth Live, and maybe we'll do a quick or a long video. If you see what you guys want to talk about. I'm in the Northeast United States. It's getting a little colder out right now, and I don't like the cold that much, but it's better than going sometimes I feel like down south where you get snakes and scorpions all over the place. So I could put up with it, I guess, sometimes. So what do you guys want to talk about? Do you have anything in particular? I see a couple people chiming in. If you want to comment, I will read the comments, and I'm doing this in live. So cool. Kind of neat stuff going on. Just want to see if anybody wants to talk about anything particular. I'll give it a few minutes for people to go live with. So I'm a patient guy. We'll just tune in and chill out for a minute, see what you guys think. I think I have one person so far. Maybe some more people jump on board. I only mentioned it to one person. I might do something, but anyway. So while we're waiting for people to join, if they're not already on some other adventure, a lot of adventures to be had tonight. So thought I'd do one live with this adventure. So I'm doing I thought to put out an advertisement, if you will, and meet up. So I posted something on that so people can find me on there and link to it. And then I'm going to be doing live meditations. I'll be posting it there and posting on here and Zoom. And then I'll be doing them for people to, do with me, which I thought would be pretty neat. I just grabbed this. You like my jacket? I grabbed this jacket because it was just laying there, and it's getting a little colder out, and I might light a bonfire outside and chill out for a minute. Just thought I'd see if anybody wants to talk about anything. I was just thinking about fifth dimensional consciousness and the role of drugs, and how I remember that I was at this job I had, and there was this other guy that was we would have some kind of conversation sometimes, some type, of conversations, and he had a PhD in biology, and he said out of all that we worked, there was a couple hundred people there. He would say to me, "You're the most intelligent guy that I know in my life." And I took that as a big compliment. He's like, "I've met professors, I've met all these different people, but you're the most intelligent." And I was like, "Thanks." Which was, a big compliment. But he said, "I just don't, you have a different way of thinking. You have this way to leapfrog ahead of, me and everybody that, when I'm talking, you're just like a brilliant guy." And so he said, "What?" He said to me, he said, "You know what? Have you ever done drugs before?" And I said, "Well, yeah, He's like, "Did you ever do LSD?" And I said a couple times. He goes, that maybe that's it, because that kind of leapfrog you, maybe your intelligence. And I was like, hmm. So I was thinking about this evening, and when, and this is not gonna, I wasn't gonna talk about this, but um, I did, like I said, a couple times, a long time ago, and it was very fascinating the first time because I had a lot of, I guess, karma that came up, and I was just sitting there and seeing. It was like parade of relatives in front of me, and like I was able to, you know, go through that, and then it's a whole long story. Maybe I'll tell another time, but I remember at one point I was with somebody else who was not doing it, and I looked at them, you know, and at one point I was just looking at them, and I had X-ray vision. Swear to God, I had X-ray vision. It wasn't. It was. I was on acid, LSD, but I could see their skull. I could see their skull like it was an X-ray. My eyes could see through their skin, see through the muscles. I was seeing the bones. So I was like, I was looking at them like, what? This is crazy. I could see into somebody's bones. So somehow humans have that ability to, see into people's bones, but I've never been able to do that again. But that was quite insane. And then there was another part to the first time that I took LSD that I was, I visualized or whatever. I was above the earth and I saw everybody like in their own bubble. And everybody was just like energy bubbles. And it just got me really depressed for some reason. I remember I was really depressed. I'm like, this totally sucks. And that was really the first time I listened to The Doors was when Riders on the Storm came up, and I stayed up all night, and it was really neat. So that was like the first time. I would say the last time that I took LSD. It was only a couple times. I had my friend over, and he took as well, and we just basically stayed inside. And I had a chessboard that was a crystal chessboard, and it was from Mexico. It's really neat. I think my family still has somewhere. Anyway, there was this chessboard, and half of it was crystal, and half of it was like carved wood. So it was really neat to play on it, and I was tripping. So I was like, we got to play on my chessboard. And I remember like he was like a really smart guy, and he was just really his ego. He was always into IQ. He went to an Ivy League school, and so we played chess. I remember like just playing chess, and I put my intelligence on the game, and like I beat him so handily, like it was crazy. I lined it up and just beat him, and then I was telling him, I was taunting him the whole time. It's my pure intelligence against your pure intelligence. I was just taunting him because I knew I was tripping. I no way I could lose at chess, and it was just like I like took every piece of his on the board. I remember I cleared like a path out, and for my rooks and my castles, and my castles just went through the middle and just like decimated everything. It was like insane. Anyway, so maybe that's how my intelligence um, leapfrogged, I was going to say. And I was thinking about that in relation to fifth dimensional consciousness, because when you look at the fifth dimensional consciousness as a layer of consciousness, so you have, for instance, a 2D, which would be on a flat plane, and we are in a 3D world, which is in different dimensions and as well as in time. And when we look at a fourth dimension, we look at that as like a tesseract. So the tesseract would be a like a square within a square where they have infinite planes connecting together. And then when we go to a fifth dimensional consciousness, which I've mentioned before, a fifth dimensional consciousness would be able to see different causalities throughout our timeline and connecting one timeline with like another timeline. So when we talk about certain things on this channel, like I talked about Mandela effects, for you to see, a Mandela effect would mean that you have the ability to have fifth dimensional consciousness, which, if you look at the layer of the brain constructed like sandwiched up in different layers, you would see like three-dimensional, two-dimensional people, they only have a certain layer of perception that they're able to access because the brains are only, working a certain way. And when we, are in a higher dimensional, thought process, you're able to access more. So my thinking was when I did the lysergic acid, which LSD is, um, what I could feel is the different pathways connecting in different ways. And actually, they have this, it's scientifically proven that actually connects more your brain together in different ways. So when that occurs, then you're able to think in like higher dimensions. But I don't think, because I was very spiritual and very much into all this before I took acid, or was I? So, it's hard to quantify, but I know I was into those kind of things before. One of the other things I thought was a really interesting story was when I was a little kid. I think I spoke about this before. So I was in, like, I want to say fourth grade, and I was in a library in my public school library where I was in school, and I would go in. There was this. I remember, I started reading like a voracious reader, and there was this book on witchcraft, and I remember like, huh, you know. So I grabbed it and I took it out and I read it cover to cover, and I was like, oh, that's interesting. That's really fascinating. That's really neat. And I had the library card slip in the inside cover, and you had it checked out. I used my from school. I took it home. I read it, and I reread it. I thought it was very interesting. I remember I brought it back, and then it was like maybe a month later. I wanted to read it again or just look at it again. So I was like, went to the librarian. I want to read this book again and look at it. And she was like, and back then we used bibliographies, and we used these big kind of dressers with little drawers in them, and you would look up the books that way. And I knew the name of the book, and I said it, and the librarian was like, "We've never had that book here before." So I'm like, what? So later on, I thought, did a timeline shift? Did that happen? Did I read the book? Was I meant to read that book? And I read it, and then it disappeared. So it was very interesting. I thought, anyway, does anybody want to talk about anything? That's the autumn equinox. So today's the autumn equinox. So cool. And thought I'd be on here live, maybe talk for a little bit. Maybe tell some stories about myself. And one of the times I tripped on acid, I was at the first Lollapalooza concert to date myself, and I didn't want to date myself, so I was looking for girls. No, I'm kidding. So So I was walking around and I saw this real pretty girl. And anyway, I went up, I scanned the crowd and I just picked out the prettiest girl and I went and followed her from across a field. It was huge there. Anyway, I started talking to her and she was pretty cool. And then I was tripping at the time. And then she was like, I remember she said to me, what's the name of this? She started quizzing me, for some reason. I remember she was quizzing me. She was like, what's the name of this rock? And like, because I was tripping, I was like, I knew everything, that, is accessed in your brain. Now, you lose that edge, but when you're tripping, it's like limitless. So I was like telling her name. I think I said it in Latin as well. And she was like, "Oh, okay. What's the name of this? What's the name of that?" And she was quizzing me on all these things. She was like, after a while, she was like, "Okay, you pass." And I was like, pass what?" And I said, first of all, I went up to her. I said, out of the blue, and I just went up to her and I was like, "You're part of a group that I'm supposed to be with." And she just like looked at me and then she started quizzing me. That's what happened. I left that part out. So I was like, "What do you mean?" She didn't like act shocked, but and so ends up being that she was up with a group of Native Americans. She was a member of a tribe up in the mountains of Pennsylvania. And after she quizzed me for a while, I guess she was checking to see if I was a shaman, um, which I found out later basically she was. And then we had phone interviews that went on for quite a while that she asked me questions to verify that I was like legit. And I was invited to go up and visit with the Native Americans. And when I went there the first time, it was a little bit weird, but they ended up welcoming me. But they did quiz, and I'm saying quiz me because I'm a white guy. She was kind of, she didn't look Native American, but they were accepting of white people into this tribe, which was like an offshoot, and it was pretty neat. It was um, so I ended up going there on the weekends and learning shamanism um, with the Native Americans, and I had to go through a lot of vetting, let's just say, to be taught, shamanism and all about the Native American Red Road, and it wasn't about drugs with them. It was all spiritual and getting in tune with the earth and nature. So there was one time when we were going into the woods, and I was with my Native American brother, who was a full-blooded Cherokee and tall guy, and we were walking, and he said, "Let's follow the deer path." And I said, "What deer?" And he was like, "The deer path right there." And it was about this time of year, and there were leaves on the ground. I said, "I don't see any deer path." He's like, "Use your splatter vision." I'm like, "What's splatter vision?" And he was like, "Oh my gosh." It's like, "Okay, unfocus your eyes a little bit." I unfocused my eyes a little bit, and all of a sudden, I could see like this path on the leaves of the footprints, and I was just like, "Oh my God, I didn't know that that's the reason that you can unfocus your eyes a little bit is to see footprints in the leaves of deer so you could track them." I had no idea growing up, with in suburbia. I had no idea that that was what it was for. it's like all of a sudden discovering that, you have this ability. And that's, I guess, what this show is about today. Having abilities that you don't know of, like X-ray vision, like splatter vision, like we have, innately within ourselves, all these different ways to literally see our reality. But, it's hidden from us in our world, from ourselves. We're limiting ourselves because we don't step outside the boundaries of who we are. And when we step outside the boundaries of the third dimensional consciousness is when we can really grasp, is my point, is higher dimensional thinking. So we end up tracking the deer, deep into the woods, and it's really, really neat. And then finding spots where the deer like took a poop. And I just thought it was hysterical. There's just so much joy with him at the time in the woods. And there was another friend there, and just saying, he was like, he said, it's amazing. He said that this was a spot that the deer felt comfortable and just stood there and took a poop. So I'm like, yeah. So you get into the deer's head a little bit. You're like, yeah, this is where the deer thought it was a cool place to just stand here all silent and just take a dump. And I'll skip a part, but we ended up going down to this river, and I remember I picked a stone out of the river. He goes, "What are you doing?" And I said, "I picked the stone up. I thought it looked cool, out of the riverbed near the, on the side of the river." He's like, "The whole woods are sacred. You shouldn't move anything. All this, the words, everything's sacred." And I was bugged out at that point. I was like, "Oh, you're right. I'm sorry. I tried to put the stone exactly back the way it was." They seem satisfied with it, but if you move it even a millimeter, it's like there's such a sacredness in the woods, especially when you're with, and my Native American brother, that we, went into the woods, and then I'm seeing it the way he sees it, and then I ended up seeing it that way as well. It was really neat. Anyway, I was taught a lot about the woods, and a lot of sacred stuff that I definitely won't talk about on video. Um, but one of the neat things, the other part of the story, was when we were done, we walked, forever. And I was like, and then I said to him, I said, "We're lost." I said, "I have no idea. We're deep in the woods." I said, "I have no idea where we are." And he just looked at me again. He's like, you're a member of a Native American tribe now." I was like, "Yeah." He said, "And I'm a full-blooded Cherokee Native American." I go, "Yeah." He goes, You can't get lost. This is our land. This is our planet. This is, we're in North America. You can't get lost." And I was like, "Okay." He's like, "You want to see something?" I go, "Sure." He says, he was like, "You can't get lost. We're part of the spirits of the earth." And I was like, "All right, all right, so we're not lost." He's like, "Yeah." He's like, "Look up." And I looked up, and there was nothing there. And then an eagle, I'm not kidding, an eagle flew. And it was like, I'll never forget. It flew like that way, you know? And then he was like, "And that's the direction we're going." And I said, I just didn't know what to say, you know? And I just looked at him. He goes, "The eagle flew to show us the way out of the woods. We can't get lost. We're Native American. We're part of a Native American tribe in the woods. You can't get lost. The spirits of the woods will show you your way. And I was just shocked, you know. And we followed the path that the eagle showed us, and it was directly the way out of the woods. And he just was totally taken as a matter of course, like it was nothing, you know. And after that, I really got to trust the universe and see signs and just go with it, because who's ever watching this with me, you're part of the earth too. And that separateness from, reality, our separateness from ourselves is really the problem with society. And if we integrate, what I'm saying is ourselves into the spiritual aspects of the earth, then we'll have less problems existing with nature and the world. And it's about integrating ourselves into the world and coexisting with nature. So, I didn't set out to talk about that, but it ended up being like in the fullness of everything that I'm talking about, being that it's the equinox, that was the perfect story to tell. And that was my fall story. I'll tell you the story some other time about when I had Thanksgiving with the Native Americans. That's a funny story. But does anybody want to say anything before I sign off? Do you want me to talk about anything? I'm happy to, I'm pretty open about pretty much everything. So if anybody wants to ask me anything, I won't hold back. I'll give you the full truth. No? All right. So thanks so much for tuning in. I hope you had a good time listening to me ramble on. And happy autumn equinox, everybody. Happy, happy, happy. That's a cool thing. That's a cool thing. Thank you so much. And I'll be doing some meditation live sessions if anybody wants to tune in with me. All right. Peace out, Cub Scouts. Bye bye.